Right now, in nurseries across the country, healthy fruit trees are sitting on discount racks because most shoppers already assume the planting season is over. That assumption is about to cost them an entire year. Here's what almost nobody explains clearly: a fruit tree growing in a container doesn't play by the same rules as one planted straight into the ground. A bare root tree hates being moved in the heat. But a container tree already has its roots settled in. Give it water, a little shade, and the right pot, and July can actually work in your favor. Warm soil pushes roots to grow faster. Long summer days help young plants settle in fast. And because most buyers already checked out for the season, the trees left on the shelf right now are often the best deal you'll find all year. But July doesn't forgive mistakes the way spring does. One wrong container. One overwatered afternoon. One tree left baking in full sun without any protection. Any of these can turn a promising young plant into a dead one within a week, and we'll get into exactly why later. So the real question isn't whether you can still plant fruit in July. It's which fruits are actually built to handle it, and which ones are quietly setting you up to fail. Because not every fruit belongs in a pot. Some need a second plant nearby just to produce anything at all. Some look healthy for months, then collapse the first time it hits 95 degrees for a week straight. That's what we're breaking down today. 15 container fruits that don't just survive summer heat, they're built for it. A few can even thrive on a small balcony with almost no space at all. And the very first one on this list is sitting in nurseries right now, mostly ignored, even though it might be the single easiest fruit tree to get right on your first try, if you avoid the one mistake that ruins it for almost everyone. Let's start there. The Meyer lemon is where most beginners either win big or lose fast, and the difference usually comes down to one thing: water. This isn't a plain grocery store lemon. It's a cross between a lemon and a mandarin, which is part of why it's sweeter and more forgiving. It's self-pollinating, so you don't need a second tree. And in warm climates, a healthy Meyer lemon can flower and ripen fruit at the same time, so while one lemon is turning yellow, new blossoms are already opening beside it. In cooler regions, expect one solid harvest a year instead. The mistake that kills more lemon trees than cold ever does is regular garden soil. It holds too much moisture around citrus roots, and citrus roots do not tolerate sitting wet. A fast-draining citrus mix solves this instantly. Now here's a fruit that actually gets better when it's a little uncomfortable. The fig tree. Most trees suffer when their roots are crowded. Figs are the exception. Mild root restriction can nudge a fig toward producing more fruit instead of just piling on leaves. Push that restriction too far, though, and the tree weakens instead of improving. It's a balance, not a shortcut. Varieties like brown turkey and Chicago hardy handle containers well across a wide range of climates, from California to the Gulf Coast, and a Chicago gardener growing Chicago hardy in a container can even bring it into a garage over winter and get a second season out of the same tree. Next is the fruit that punishes one very specific mistake: soil pH. Blueberries need acidic soil, somewhere around 4.5 to 5.5. Skip that detail, and a blueberry bush can sit alive but barely growing for years, with most gardeners never figuring out why. A simple soil pH meter clears up that mystery in seconds, and it's linked below if you want to check yours. For a faster payoff, dwarf peach trees are hard to beat. True genetic dwarfs like Bonanza stay small on their own, and depending on the size of the tree you start with, some can produce fruit the very first season. The catch is thinning. It feels wrong pulling young peaches off the branch, but a tree loaded with too much fruit ends up weaker every year after. And then there's the fruit that needs the least patience of anything on this list. Strawberries. A single plant costs next to nothing, and ever-bearing varieties can start producing within the same season in a basket, a tower, or a simple pot on a railing. Here's the part that surprises people, though: these plants don't stay productive forever. The most consistent growers replace their strawberry plants every few seasons, because vigor drops off over time no matter how well you care for them. That one habit alone, knowing when to replace a plant instead of babying a tired one, separates gardeners who get better every year from gardeners who quietly plateau. Let's group the rest of this list the way experienced growers actually think about it, not by name, but by what each fruit is best at. First, the fast producers. Raspberries, in a variety like Heritage, can reward you in the very first year, coming back reliably once established. Blackberries follow close behind. Compact varieties like Baby Cakes handle heat well and produce heavily, as long as they've got something to climb and strong sun overhead. Prune out the old canes after harvest, since new canes are what carry next season's fruit. Both of these share the one root problem worth remembering: standing water. Beyond that, treat drainage as solved and move on. Next, the cold climate winners. Dwarf cherry trees, especially the self-fertile Stella variety, bring some of the prettiest spring blossoms of anything on this list, along with sweet fruit by summer. The real challenge isn't the growing, it's the birds. A fruiting cherry tree gets found fast. And rounding out the citrus family alongside the Meyer lemon, kumquats and dwarf mandarins. Kumquats are smaller, more cold tolerant, and the fruit holds on the tree longer without dropping, so there's less rush to harvest everything at once. Mandarins and clementines need one thing citrus trees are picky about: 6 to 8 hours of direct sun daily. Fall short on that, and the tree looks healthy but produces almost nothing. Now, for gardeners in hot, dry states like Arizona and Texas, one fruit stands out from everything else on this list: pomegranate. Varieties like Wonderful are drought-resistant once established, genuinely thriving in conditions that would stress most other container fruits. A gardener in Arizona growing pomegranate in a 20-gallon pot often ends up with the lowest maintenance plant in their entire garden. It's also strikingly ornamental, fruit or no fruit. And finally, for warm state gardeners in Florida, Southern California, and along the Gulf Coast, there's a tropical trio worth knowing about, even if the rest of the country can't grow them outdoors. Dwarf bananas need heat, water, and fertility, but reward that effort with genuinely tropical fruit from a container. Guava grows fast and adapts well to pots in zones 9 through 11, provided it gets winter protection anywhere temperatures dip. And dwarf mango varieties like Pickering can produce real mangoes in a container, as long as drainage is close to perfect, since these roots have zero tolerance for standing water. If you're gardening anywhere colder than Zone 8, this trio isn't realistic outdoors, but everything else on this list is fair game. 15 fruits covered. Now here's where most container gardens actually fall apart, and it has almost nothing to do with which fruit you picked. Container size, garden soil, and pollination partners get talked about constantly, and if you've gardened before, you've probably heard all three already. Quick version: size up rather than down. A raised bed or even a simple large grow bag makes this a lot easier if you're working with limited space. Use a real potting mix instead of digging from the yard, and check whether your variety needs a second tree nearby before you buy just one. The mistakes that actually catch experienced gardeners off guard are different, and they're almost all about heat. The biggest one: dark container sitting in full July sun. Black plastic absorbs heat, and that heat travels straight down into the root zone. Roots can reach damaging temperatures long before a single leaf shows stress, which is why a tree can look fine one week and decline suddenly the next. The fix is straightforward: light-colored containers, or shade on the pot itself during the hottest hours, plus a 2 to 3 inch layer of mulch to slow evaporation and keep root temperatures steadier. The second one is transplant shock specific to summer. Moving a plant into a new container during a heatwave is different from doing it in April. The safest approach: plant in the evening once the heat breaks, water deeply right away, and give the plant shade for its first week or two while it adjusts. Skip that adjustment window, and even a healthy tree can struggle to recover. And the third is one gardeners rarely think about until years later: what happens after the roots fill the pot? Every few years, a container fruit needs root pruning and fresh soil, or growth quietly stalls even though nothing looks wrong on the outside. Here's the moment that really matters, though. Most people wait until spring, see bare shelves at the nursery, and only then realize they missed their window again. Meanwhile, a $20 fig or blueberry plant, put in the ground this month, could already be producing fruit by next summer while everyone else is still waiting for spring stock to arrive. That's the actual regret this list is named for. Not the fruit itself, the year of harvest you don't get back. So here's where that leaves you. Pick a fruit that fits your climate, give it the right container and a little heat protection, and July stops being the month you missed. It becomes the month you got ahead. Out of everything covered today, which fruit surprised you the most? Maybe it was the fig that thrives on a little neglect, or the fact that a mango can grow in a pot at all. If you're planning what to plant this week, tell me in the comments. There's a good chance the answer is already on this list. And if this changed how you think about July, consider subscribing. There's a lot more where this came from.